individual bones of your spine. These are the discs. I'd love to show you a normal one, but there's not a normal one in here. They've all lost their height. They've all lost their water content. They've all ruptured back into the nerves at one time or another. When you look at this, the white stuff is your spinal fluid, which is like water. Spinal cord is here, and then it turns into what we call the cauda equina, all the nerves that come down off of the bottom of the spinal cord, then come out at each level and go to your legs. And yeah, so when you look here, it should all look like that, where the spinal cord's nice and free and there's water all the way around it. Starting there, and there, you're pinching off multiple levels.
What part of the back is that?
This?
Yeah, that
Well,
we're looking at.
Your tailbone's
Oh,
here.
that's a tail. Okay.
So this should be like one solid, just line of fluid, basically.
And
Yeah,
this
it should just
spinal
be.
cord.
Oh, okay.
Now when you look at the cross-section pictures, so this picture is taken as if you're laying on your back, and I can put the lines in. Laying on your back, and wherever this is the slice where this blue line is. So your belly is here. Either the bone or the disc in the front is here. White stuff here is, again, spinal fluid. That's the spinal cord. So you can see that's way up here, which is kind of the semi-normal level up here. So that looks normal. But watch what happens to the spinal fluid as we go through these different levels.
Wow. Gee,
See
there's
the
nothing.
disc herniation and that. And this white here is not even spinal fluid. That's fat that's been pushed up into the ligament. So really it's just that.
Oh my gosh.
Get down here again. It opens up a little bit where the bone is, then it squashes down again. And it gets narrow again. So there's kind of two issues at each level. One, from a nerve compression standpoint. Number one, the center canal, which we call spinal stenosis, right? That's the center part where all the nerves are. So that's narrow at all of those levels. The second issue at each level is when where the nerves come out the sides. I try to find a normal level to compare it to.
Oh my gosh.
Let's say here. You see how there's white going out there on both sides?
Yeah.
Well, that should be at every level, but when you get down to where it's tight here, you see it's pinched on that side completely, then it's pinched on that side completely, and then pinched again that side and this side, and then pinched again on that
Oh
side.
my gosh.
Problem with all of that, is this fixing all of that would involve an enormous surgery to your back.
Not one of those minimally invasive.
Well, I can do it minimally invasive, but the problem is that there are so many levels there that whether it's done minimally invasive or it's done open, that's a huge surgery to go through.
Versus,
Keep getting epidurals that give you temporary relief.
but this is gonna get worse.
It potentially could get worse, yes.
But
I mean, you don't have much disc left to come out anywhere, so it's almost as bad as it can be.
Is
So
it,
The studies,
other than epidurals? I mean, is there anything else?
short of surgery, no.
Oh, gee.
Epidural's kind of the last.
So pretty much everything else is like short term, not really solving the core of the issue.
Correct. To serve
Like therapy? Nothing?
therapy, I mean, the only reason we do therapy for this is really just to strengthen the muscles around the spine to keep it from continuing to degenerate. But
Traction, stretching, I have an inversion table.
those help, but again, it's all temporary kind of things. I mean, ultimately, the problem is if there's supposed to be that much room for your nerves, there's that much room for your nerves. So the studies say that 80% of people with spinal stenosis stay the same. They don't go terribly downhill. They just don't get better. They just kind of stay that way. 20% of people get worse and end up in a wheelchair. So 1 out of 5 people does this progress without surgery. And anywhere along that spectrum, you can have surgery. And there's sort of two surgeries because there's two different issues. Remember what I said: the center versus where the nerves come out. the surgery to fix the center part is to just do a laminectomy, where you go in and you just take this bone off the back of the spine. You just make room for all the nerves in the middle. Problem is that this pain that you're having going kind of down different places at different times is because depending upon how you sleep, how you move, what you do during the day, you're either pinching the nerves here or at those other levels on the other side. That's why it's kind of traveling to different places.
So you can see here why I'm having what I'm having.
Yeah.
Have you ever done anything like this before?
Yes.
Success?
Yes, but success is relative, first of all. We never cure everything because all of this stuff is works
Already.
together, right? Second problem is that once you fuse, let's say we choose, the 4 worst levels to fix. Well, that next level then has a giant bar up against it, and so then it does progress. And so you start having this more surgery, more surgery, more
It's kind of
surgery.
like a chain reaction.
Correct.
That's unavoidable.
Generally,
But better than doing epidurals? I don't know.
I mean, the problem is this. There's almost not a normal joint in your back. Like, you see all this white stuff that's in the bone? That's all because you've not had a disc for so long. The bones are just grinding against each other, okay? And your vertebrae are like honeycombs. They're not like your femur. They're not like a solid bone. They're like a honeycomb. So inside of it is just a web of loose little pieces of bone with bone marrow cells in it producing blood cells. Okay. So what happens is when the disc goes away and the bone is sensing that there's no cushion anymore, well, it doesn't want to break, so it hardens itself, and that's why you get this white stuff. So you've not had discs here for so long that the bones have started to
So even just
toughen themselves.
just the bare structure of the spine is already kind of deteriorating along with everything else around it.
Right, and so can you fuse from here to here? Yes, you can. That is a huge surgery that would take a long time and potentially has a lot of complications to it. If you made it through the surgery without any complications, it would take about a year for you to recover from it. Once you recovered from all of that, you should be better than you were, but not necessarily where you want to be.
But so 100% is kind of out of the picture.
Yes. When we start looking at success rates of this kind of a surgery, we start looking at what's called a disability index. So we look at sort of what you could do before and what you could do afterwards, and combine that with pain and some other things. And never is it complete relief. It's all just, we compare the person who didn't have surgery to the person that had surgery, use that disability index and see, okay, the person that had surgery is so much better than this person, but they're never perfect. So the choices are continuing to do the things that you're doing, number one, having epidurals in combination with that, or you can throw up your hands and say, I don't want to fix all of that, but I want to get out of pain, in which case you could have a spinal cord stimulator. All the spinal cord stimulator does is kind of confuse your spinal cord.
TENS thing?
It's like a TENS thing, but it's inside. It just masks the pain. It doesn't fix
My
the
concern
problem.
is that the damage continues, and I don't want to be, I'm not going to be a monster. I'm not going to go there. No way.
But that spinal cord, what's it called?
Spinal cord stimulator.
I mean, you'll still be doing damage to it even though you won't
feel
feeling
it. You won't feel it, but I mean, damage-wise, I mean,
Is it just
like I said,
getting an epidural?
I don't know how much more damage you could do. I mean, you pretty much every level in your spine
What does an
is
epidural do?
degenerated. Epidural just, it's when these nerves are pinched, they're irritated, so they develop inflammation in them.
Right.
So the epidural, actually, the steroid that's in the epidural reduces that inflammation.
Okay.
So that's why there's less pain.
So if
But
you,
it wears off.
so if you were to do like that huge surgery, would that like halt any more damage, or would it still?
That would make it so that we're sure that, these levels are not going to paralyze you. The problem is,
It's going to chain reaction out.
yes, the studies say, for example, if you do just a two-level fusion, okay, you have a 40% chance of in the next 5 years after that of rupturing the next disc.
Oh, okay.
So that's a 2 level. So you can imagine if you do 4 levels, 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5, 4 or 5 levels, you can imagine the chance that this one's going to go pretty quick is pretty high.
Right. And then doing like that huge surgery you're talking about, like fusing the whole thing. Is that kind of like you guys never do that, or that's like too risky, or?
It's not that we never do it. We do it. Doing it minimally invasively